You better work!
Welcome to the great moment in ethical thought with Professor Stephen Joseph Cashin. I'm Rasta Elton John, and today I will be your host. Welcome, Professor.
Why, thank you. It's great to be here, Rasta.
Let's get right to it, because I really want to hear you talk. What is ethical relativism?
Well, relativism is the position that all points of view are equally valued, and the individual determines what is true and relative for them. Relativism theorizes that truth is different for different people, not simply that different people believe different things to be true. While there are relativists in science and mathematics, ethical relativism is the most common variety.
Okay, any slogans that would help us get this concept down?
Yeah, there are some slogans, simple things really. What's right for you may not be right for me. What's right for my culture doesn't necessarily fit what your cultural background tells you. Or simply, the idea of you go your way and I go mine.
Oh, okay. What position does ethical relativism represent?
Good question, and you always ask good questions, Rasta. Ethical relativism represents the position that there are no moral absolutes, no moral right or wrong. This position would assert that our morals evolve and change with social norms over periods of time. This philosophy allows people to mutate ethically as the culture, knowledge, and technology change in society. Think of slavery as a good example of this. Slavery was once to be accepted around the world, and we didn't think of it as a moral evil, but as necessary. But as our thinking evolves, and as technology evolves, and our concept of what's right and wrong evolve and culture changes, the notion of slavery being acceptable also changes with it.
What is ethical relativism from a subjective view?
Well, subjective ethical relativism supports the view that the truth of moral principles is relative to individuals. Whatever you believe is right for you personally is completely up to you to determine. It's really your choice. What's right and wrong is up to you. Subjective relativism allows you to be sovereign over the principles that dictate how you live your life.
Now, this might be a silly question, but how does this apply to culture?
Never silly questions from you. Conventional ethical relativism supports the view that truth of moral principles is relative to culture. Okay, so unlike the subjective view, you seem very interested in this.
I am.
Yes, unlike the subjective view, which we talk about, it's the individual deciding what is right or what is wrong, that it is relative to the individual's own thinking. When we look at it from a cultural perspective, we allow the cultural values that surround us to tell you what is right or wrong. So as culture changes, therefore then our ethical or moral principles or values can change. Okay? So take for instance, if the culture says that polygamy, having more than one wife, is okay, then all of a sudden that changes. The culture says that's not the case anymore, then that value changes because the culture, and we're a part of that culture, changes with it.
Now, will you give us an example of this relativism?
Yeah, well, the idea of this cultural relativism, think of it, we'll look at it from a little bit of a larger perspective, but think of it as the difference between an individualist culture and a collectivist culture. In an individualist culture, which is Western culture, okay, American culture, the idea is that our actions are really guided by what's good for us. The value that this culture has is that you go, you take the world by storm, you do it, and you do what is best for you. That's the idea of an individualist culture. In American culture, it's always, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, make it better for yourself. Now, in a collectivist culture, something you might see in the Eastern world, excuse me, but in this collectivist culture, what guides our action is what's good for the community. So we may subordinate our own goals for what is good for the community, and therefore what we judge as moral or ethical is based not on what's good for the individual, but what's good for the community, the family, whatever that social structure is. Hence the difference.
Okay. Well, thanks. That's all we have time for. Now, I would like to thank my kitty for filming this interview, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Brought to you by McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.